All right. Well, welcome back to the iWealth podcast. And today we have Mr. Brad Connors with us.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about is actually something that's very personal to me. I got a little DJ business. I have a little production company. And as every year goes on and we do the taxes, it just gets more and more complex. All of a sudden, we've got life insurance and we've got a kid now that shows up in the picture. And it's like, it used to be so simple. I used to just get my paycheck and then I'd go to Starbucks, and life was simple. But then as you add these things, it becomes overwhelming very quickly. So my question to you today is, when does it pay to actually have somebody like yourself involved with the process?
Yeah, interesting concept and true. I mean, it happens to all of us. I always tell the story about, you're in high school, then college, and then you get out of college, start making some money, but you're going to need a house someday, but then you need to get married, and then you get your house, and then you have children, and then you wake up and you're 40 and you're like, maybe I should save some money for retirement. Yeah. But, if you think about a mountain, Matt, it's kind of that complexity as you go up the side of that mountain. It gets harder as you get towards the top versus the base as you start walking. And so I think to answer your question as a salesman, it depends.
Okay.
But certainly as you first get started out and you get your 401k, there's tools online and things that help you get you allocated. There's age-based investments based upon being 21 years old and starting your, those kind of things. But as you get married and have children and need life insurance and start to do some goal planning or a life event, a lot of times that's what it is.
That's what triggers it.
Yeah, and life event could be getting married, but a life event could be a death in the family and an inheritance. It could be a divorce. It could be an accident or some type of other windfall or inheritance or something that comes in. So a lot of times the life events trigger it. But once those events happen, or you're making more income and you're maxing out your investments and you're like, what's kind of next? A lot of times it's important to sit down with somebody and kind of have that financial quarterback kind of conversation. Yeah. And for affluent families, we work as a virtual family office where we are that quarterback. And if they need a private jet, who should they call? Or private medical, or a real estate transaction in another state, or those type of things we handle. So complexity grows as you get older or as you climb up that wealth scale. Doesn't make you any better than anybody else, but complexity comes into that. And so the real answer is depends, but I think we tend to know as we look at our statement, and I think sometimes it's a number on the statement. Sometimes all of a sudden you get $100,000 or it's $500,000. It's like, wait a minute,
I need somebody else looking at this, to figure out what the next step is. Mm-hmm. So really, the two flags, right, are one: did you have a big life event? That's kind of the first thing. The second thing is so life event, and then what was the other one?
You're going to know internally if
internally when it gets to a number. Yeah, that's what you were saying. Yeah. Is there any other triggers that go, okay, maybe I need somebody else behind the wheel here?
No,
that you see pretty often?
There isn't. I mean, there's YouTube videos. That's why we're doing this, is to try to help educate people. There's stuff out there, but there gets to be a ceiling and complexity where you're like, I'm just not sure about this. I need someone to take a look at this, and it's called a second opinion.
Yeah.
When you start to feel that way, get a second opinion. It doesn't cost an arm. Like, you can come into a place like us, sit down with Sean or myself or whoever for an hour, and we're not going to charge you. Yeah. We're just going to give you a second opinion and see if there's some gaps that we can help you with. So I think if you get to that point, you're going to know, and then you just need to get on the phone with somebody.
I think the other thing, too, that's interesting about what you guys do is kind of the accountability partner. So we kind of talk to that for those top-level people that have been diligent about running their business or have inherited a fairly sizable amount of wealth, to talk about the accountability piece of what you guys do.
Yeah, what's really interesting, Matt, is just because somebody has a dollar sign behind their name doesn't make them any smarter than you or anyone else. And so we find a lot of gaps in people that are affluent, that have other advisors and things that are there. They just haven't thought through the processes. And so what we try to do is come in and take a holistic approach at looking at things and finding the gaps, like finding them out, laying them out, and then what are the solutions to those gaps that we find. And once you find those solutions, then to keep them accountable to getting them done.
Yeah.
For instance, a lot of times we'll see trust drawing up. So a lawyer will draw up a nice trust, and it's beautiful trust. But if you don't transfer your assets into it, it never comes into play. So if they draw up a trust and your house is supposed to go into it, but you never go to the courthouse and put your house into the trust and you die, it's not going to do what you wanted it to do, just for instance. And so dotting I's, crossing T's is really important, but not only just saying, hey, go do this, but then checking in with you 3 months later. It's like, did you get it done yet?
Yeah.
Is it done? We need to go get this done. Those type of things. So
the accountability part.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
yeah. No different than our spouses that keep you and I accountable. Same thing from a financial standpoint.
From somebody that's there checking in on you. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you back here next time.
All right.